Okay, so it's time to talk about everybody's favorite, least favorite agency or aspect of government, uh, at least under certain circumstances. Say you've been caught murdering somebody, you're not going to be very happy with the law unless you accept that you are wrong in what you did. And that was the motivator. Anyways, that's a completely different tangent. What we're talking about here is law enforcers, and in particular, their bias against, uh, or at least towards, um, people of ethnic and social minorities. As I spoke of in my last video, I was mentioning how the RCMP and the VPD or the VIC-PD and the VPD, the Vancouver Police Department as well, were all and the Winnipeg Police and etc. across Canada were just evicting uh, homeless people from these makeshift huts or homes or trailers they were able to drum up. And that is unequivocally a crime against humanity. That is on par allowing like to allow the tail to wag the dog to such an extremity, like make the theory proceed and dictate the reality in such an absurd way is a crime not only against humanity but against reality itself. There are times when you need to back off and understand you are not always in control, and there doesn't always need to be some sort of centralized controller and police force. This is something that is being monopolized on us from birth. We've been indoctrinated in the idea that, the police, in their numbers and their their ubiquity, are necessary, and uh, not to say police of some form or police on uh, a smaller budget aren't necessary. I think, in particular, it should go towards funding should go towards inspectors and focus on the actual crimes where people are getting murdered. And even if it has to do with a drug deal, don't start pinning it on the drugs per se, because it's the people who use the drugs and abuse the drugs. And I'm not saying the people who use and abuse, like in an addictive sense. I'm talking about the people who use them, the people who make a dime off of somebody else's addiction and ultimate suffering and eventual death. Um, and we see that even elite declared and appropriate with things like alcohol and cigarettes. Um, Weed is probably the greatest thing that has been legalized in terms of drugs, It's also one of the better drugs to do. Not to say that smoking things in your lungs is going to do much good for you in the long run, but that's why there's plenty of alternatives. But I am going on another stoned uh, tangent here. What I'm talking about is the fact that we need less policing and more, well, how do I say it? Less policing, because policing has a militant aspect to it by its very nature, hence why they carry guns even in the most peaceful of countries. And you know what? Fine, I guess some people have to. Uh, it just depends how much you trust them with it. And I don't know any of them personally, but I'm willing to take a leap of faith on some people, but that leap of faith cannot include any bad apples. None. Like, that's the difference between, like, a cop committing a crime or an atrocity by killing an innocent person, whether black or white or Hispanic or male or female or transsexual or gay or what have you. Uh, like that's that's uh that's a 100% a crime and should be treated as such. Like, there's valid times in which armed measures against any kinds of people are necessary, but we need what I was saying, what I was trying to get to here. Is we need some sort of mental health unit that doesn't patrol the streets or anything, but reacts in the same way as 911. Like, it could be uh the fourth conjugate you call on 911. It would be police, fire, um hospital, and then mental health workers, like highly trained mental health workers. And this is not impossible. It's been suggested before. Um, so I don't I don't get it. We simply allow police with their 6 months, 6 months of training. I find that disgusting. To be a police officer, I firmly believe that on top of 6 months of academy training, you need a bachelor in law. And you also need some ethics classes after the fact in terms of racial profiling, racial profiling or profiling in general, which I'm sure you do get some of, and some of you take it to heart, but not enough. One bad apple spoils the bunch.